All right, let's start to analyze the trades that we took this morning. I ignored the idea that it was an inside bar day and that it's trapped in between the high and low of previous day, which means it can go up and down and chop around, and that's what it's doing. I'm trying a new system here trading, and I wanted to test one of my ideas. So everything looks short. Let's just talk about everything looking short here. We look at the 15-minute chart, and let's go back to where it was when I took the short right there. Let's go back on the 5-minute chart right here. Everything was short right here. Everything was short right here. And all these charts, yes, beautiful, beautiful shorts. And let's take a look at the exponentials. It was short right there. It was short right there. Everything was short. Okay. Problem is, two problems with this trade. There's two problems with this trade. Number one, the day chart is an inside bar day, which means it is flat, almost doji like yesterday, and that's a very choppy, unpredictable kind of price activity. So that's number one. Number two is that it was not below the pivot level right here. You see this pivot level, a long move down, straight down. I also want to just interject the idea that you can take a trade if it's not broken below the pivot level. If it's up here, where that would have been a beautiful drop down to the pivot level, but this news would have stopped out. This is a news event right here. And then you've got areas right here where the green is building up over here, and it's getting ready to drop this way. Maybe take it from here down to the pivot level, which I would have broke even on that trade. But this close to the pivot level, I was too busy thinking about my new idea to be concerned with thinking logically. It's just on a simulator, but nevertheless, when I practice new ideas, I don't want to do it on the Apex accounts. Okay, so that didn't work. It started shooting up real strong right here. Right here. It just took off. It took off, buddy. And let's look at the 5-minute chart real quick, what that was looking like. Let's close this here. And let's study it, because that's the only way to really understand what's going on. It took off. It closed above the moving averages. And honestly, when it got above this pivot and showed a lot of strength, I looked at the 5,000 tick chart. It was consolidating and going sideways, literally started to build up. And let's take a look at the setup chart. It was doing this number here, making higher lows, consolidating, higher lows, higher lows. I just jumped in it. And of course, that was too high. I should have waited for classic Fibonacci pullback levels here. And that's exactly where it came back down to in the golden zone, where I thought my trade was still legit. As legit as you can get for trading an inside bar day, right? So that's the first mistake right there off the bat. There's plenty of room to go back up to the overnight levels, so I'm not concerned. Well, the overnight level, it almost hit that's another mistake I just made. Let's reiterate. This dash line here is an overnight high. Oh, but the previous day's levels are way up here. So I guess depending on what you're looking at, I do believe it wants to go up over and test the sweeps from overnight. But it didn't get there yet. Yeah, that's overnight. Overnight right here. And it wants to go get those levels. So we're not there yet. So if you're just trading based on looking for liquidity sweeps and a Fibonacci level and the strong move up, then this is a half decent trade. So I opened up a different account and took it on a different account and took along here. We got almost $100 on that pop. And I got out immediately because I said, at least it'll mitigate my loss if this thing pulls all the way back down underneath this move. Now, by the way, my 5-minute chart, my stop is literally underneath this big strong move up. You got 5 candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles going up. My stop is right underneath that. If it comes down and stops me out, that would be awesome. What can I say? That would be fantastic. And then I'd have to stop, because right then I would realize I'm selling at the bottom. Let's look at this. I'm selling at the bottom. I sold this at the bottom, completely stopped me out here. I bought this at the top, and if it comes down here, I'm out of sync. And again, it's just going to make me slap myself because I looked at the day and said, this is an inside bar day. Today's going to be challenging. It's going to be very challenging, so be careful. And because I'm trying a new system, and I'm using simulators, I'm just kind of throwing that logic and wisdom out the window. But that's where we're at right now. Let's finish and seeing what happens and how this all develops and turns out. Okay, ride 'em cowboy. Now these two lines are previous day's highs. If this inside bar day decides to break out, we're looking at a potential rise to the next daily high, which is way up here, which will give me a 2-to-1 on this trade and more than make up for, I wish I would have held this secondary account trade, for the loss that we made on this trade here. My stop was at the high pivot right here. When I took that trade, everything looked good on the 15. Everything was looking good on all my time charts. I just did it too low here. I didn't wait for the breakdown, or I should have done it higher, or just not taken the trades until something breaks out. Like right here, this is finally breaking out of the overnight highs. It's possible that there's going to be a great setup right here for another account just to see, keep all my trades separate in different accounts. That way you don't blow any of the Apex accounts or take a hit too much on any one account. But my target is definitely try to get 2-to-1 here. So unfortunately, I have to endure some work on it. Let me see. I'm not even at 2-to-1. No, that's 1-to-1. So in order to get my 1-to-1 on this even, it's going to have to bust through these two levels, which are daily highs on the day chart. Let me take a look at that day chart and show everybody where that's at. Yeah, these previous days here, boom, boom, and then you got this previous day here. Will it get back that high? I don't know. It's got to go through some stuff here. It's got to go through some stuff. It's possible that I might chicken out and just take whatever profits it gives me as it gets into this first line, and just say, you know what, be glad that you're profitable for the day because you started taking trades that were very unreasonable, and inside bar days on the daily can be very tricky. So it looks like I probably should have held that second trade. Instead, I took it on a spike, which I'm okay with that. Here's another Fibonacci pullback from this big move right here. 3-bar reversal, consolidation, continuation, hit 2-to-1 that I was talking about, but never did take it. But now it's breaking down. So yeah, quick scalps on the second account while we're holding for the bigger account. I kind of like that. I like that idea and that concept, to have different dimensions and different accounts, although everything's still going in the same direction. And then maybe even if you see a short setup on a separate account for quick scalping ideas, but that's kind of going too much for me. I want to try to keep everything in the same direction if I can. If I do take multiple dimension types of trades, to keep everything going in the same direction. I mean, I don't want to get too fancy here. Okay, if this is going to completely collapse into the inside bar day on the daily chart, understanding it back to a doji, we're going to see a bunch of trend lines not holding up, and we're going to see it grinding and grinding and grinding lower. Each trend line break will fail, and it'll continue to work its way back down into this area until it stops us out. At some point, the trend line, the highest trend line, wherever that might be, and it could create a higher trend line and then rotate down, and then we'll have a higher trend line. But right now, this is the highest trend line. We need to see that break, honestly, before getting back into a potential secondary trade opportunity. Right now, it's too busy trending down. So we're only in the one trade that we got long right over here. And our stop is underneath, way down here. Where is the stop? No, the stop is right here. And like we said, that is going to be where the bottom of that big 5-candle run on the 5-minute chart was. And again, let's take a look at that. Yeah, right here where this run was, right here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's at the bottom of that big spike right there. after this consolidation. And whatever's going on in here on the volume charts, to me, that looks like a very good area to just hold tight and see what's going to happen. Inside bar day, anything can happen on an inside bar day, including this can continue to go up. So let's draw our trend lines. That gives us an idea of the behavior here. And let's see what's going on. We want it to get over into the area, little by little rotate and come around and do a rounding pattern and then start to create higher lows, consolidate. And any type of consolidation after it creates, it rounds out. If it rounds out, creating higher lows, you want to see consolidation and then a push. But right now it's grinding. So let's keep an eye on it. And by the way, it would have really, really, really hit a big target at the top there on the exponential time chart. I hit 2-to-1 on that second trade. Let's take a look at that. On that second trade that I just spiked, I got out right on this little tiny spike right here. Bought it down when it hit 50% and got out as soon as it spiked. It went up to 2-to-1 up here. Man, that is amazing. Just like to make comments as each area of interest develops. This box is the 50% pullback where I took that first trade, by the way. So it hasn't even pulled back to the 50% area where we took that trade right here. We caught that spike up and missed the 2-to-1 on it. Okay, and so let's take a look at these trend line developments. It has created what's called another higher trend line. So let's draw that out real quick. Now what was the higher trend line has moved and been inched up. So it could be going sideways, but it just made a lower low here, bouncing off, of course. That's why we love our trend line, this trend line and the top of the Fibonacci zone area box. So we're really curious to see what's going to happen in this area here. Is it eventually going to round out and consolidate and push? And that's the best way to do it, round out and consolidate. Sometimes it'll just go straight up and it gives you absolutely no chance to really get in. There's no pullback. You just got to go with the momentum if you're going to take that trade, if you're that kind of trader. We don't need this trend line. Once there's a new trend line and it just is in the way, I don't particularly need every single trend line, but I do like the spacing of trend lines. Mathematically, you'll see charts just develop mathematically and they're beautiful. It's very much art as well as science. And there's been times when those trend lines tell you exactly where it's going to go to, like it bounced right here. So let's see if it develops and grinds, just keeps grinding and grinding, or if it'll create another higher trend line over here and then grind in this area, which will basically be sideways activity if it does that. Just like to make comments as each area of interest develops. This box is the 50% pullback where I took that first trade, by the way. So it hasn't even pulled back to the 50% area where we took that trade right here. We caught that spike up and missed the 2-to-1 on it.
Connection lost.
Connection lost. Okay, and so let's take a look at these trend line developments. It has created what's called another higher trend line. So let's draw that out real quick. Now what was the higher trend line has moved and been inched up. So it could be going sideways, but it just made a lower low here, bouncing off, of course. That's why we love our trend line, this trend line and the top of the Fibonacci zone area box. So we're really curious to see what's going to happen in this area here. Is it eventually going to round out and consolidate and push? And that's the best way to do it, round out and consolidate. Sometimes it'll just go straight up and it gives you absolutely no chance to really get in. There's no pullback. You just got to go with the momentum if you're going to take that trade, if you're that kind of trader. We don't need this trend line. Once there's a new trend line and it just is in the way, I don't particularly need every single trend line, but I do like the spacing of trend lines. Mathematically, you'll see charts just develop mathematically and they're beautiful. It's very much art as well as science. And there's been times when those trend lines tell you exactly where it's going to go to, like it bounced right here. So let's see if it develops and grinds, just keeps grinding and grinding, or if it'll create another higher trend line over here and then grind in this area, which will basically be sideways activity if it does that. Okay, what's happened since my last input? Well, it almost stopped me out. This thing came within a few ticks. Let's take a look at it. I mean, you can see how down, 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 down it came here on what you're seeing on the screen. But overall, the exponential system, it's almost back to break even, but it came so far down. It went down below the close and open of previous days, open of today, went down below those lines. And our stop was, where was the stop? I mean, the stop for that particular trade was, let me get rid of that. That's no good. Was this level right here. And hey, look how close it came. Wow. I don't know if it missed me by a tick or what happened, but yeah, it came pretty close to stopping me out on that right there. Very, very close. And now that it's moving up, I'm just trailing my stop and seeing if I can just, if it decides to come back down, or maybe get out at break even since it's an inside bar day. You know, since it did test down here, I'm thinking, you know, maybe that's kind of where it's going to stay as support. So don't get out too early. All right, well, that's where we're at so far. It almost stopped me out. The trend lines that it was making, it kept grinding and grinding all the way down, and then now it's starting to bounce. We don't know what it's going to do, so let's see what happens. And that's why I'm trying to work on a system where I can just let price move around, man, because NASDAQ just loves to take your stops out, knock you out, and then go right back up in the direction that it wants to go. So, you know, if I was in up here somewhere, I would have stopped out right there. One of these two pivots stopped out right here. If you took that breakout, it came right back down and stopped you out. So I'm underneath these pivots down here. My stop for the day was down here. For the entire trade was down here. It almost came that far. Is it going to work its way back down that far down? If it is, was it a good idea to raise my, you know, my stop? And there's a lot of debate on that. You know, keep your stop where it originally is. Don't move it. Or if you can trail it up, keep it far enough behind. I think there's logic and value to all of that. I don't know if any one way is better than the other, to be honest with you. Okay, I was stopped out of the trade. That's the end of that. And it would have stopped me out. Oh, it's almost down at the bottom of that level again. There, it would have stopped me out of that trade as well. So I'm glad I moved it up a little bit. There you go. That's the end of the day. Peace.